Welcome to Tea with Tanya. I'm your host, Tanya Ambrose, an average millennial navigating life as a maternal health professional, nonprofit founder, and grad student. Join me in the tea tasting room where we spill the tea on finding balance and promoting positive living while doing it all. Hey friend, welcome back to another episode of Tea with Tanya. I'm your host Tanya, and as always, I am so happy to have you here with me in the tea tasting room. If this is your first time listening, welcome to the tea tasting room. I hope you stick around to see what tea we serve here in the tea tasting room. Speaking of tea, this week's tea of the week is a honeybush hot cider tea. It's fall, so I'm trying to get into the fall flavors and the fall taste. But this tea combines honeybush with apple, cinnamon, orange peel, and licorice root for a sweet and lightly spiced blend of a tea. It is delicious, okay? I hope you're ready for some real talk today, my friend, because we're diving into a topic that, for me, it doesn't get enough love, and that is feminine hygiene. So yes, we are going there today. So grab your tea, get comfy. If you're relaxing at home or you're on your morning walk or commute, whatever it is, let's chat, because we deserve to talk about this openly and without shame, right? I think we do. It's crazy to me, my friend, that in the year 2024, we're still kind of like whispering about things like periods, vaginal health, vaginas, like it's some big secret. Like, when did we learn to be so hush-hush about our bodies? Like, it's so frustrating, but honestly, on one hand, I get it because I grew up in a culture where these things weren't talked about openly. Like, we weren't allowed to have these conversations to some extent, But here's the thing. Feminine hygiene isn't something to be embarrassed about. It is really part of our health. We cannot talk about our self-care or our health and well-being without even talking about our feminine hygiene. It has to start somewhere. So today, we're breaking the stigma and getting real, and we're going to be talking about feminine hygiene tips every woman should know, but isn't always told, or maybe you forgot about it, or because you live a fast-paced life that sometimes you don't slow down to really acknowledge and give your body the attention that it needs, okay? So let's start with this idea that feminine hygiene is more than just cleanliness, right? We are taught that it's all about washing and staying fresh, but that's such a small part of the picture. Feminine hygiene is about taking care of your vaginal health, your overall well-being, and honestly, showing ourselves a little love. So let me tell you, your body is amazing, my friend. One thing about the female body, it is so complex, honestly, but it's so beautiful, and it's doing its thing without you even realizing it. The part of that thing that our body does is that your vagina keeping itself clean. So you heard that right. It is self-cleaning. Like, your vagina is literally a self-cleaning powerhouse. It's doing the work for you. Isn't that wild? Isn't that crazy? I think about it. What if my apartment could just be self-cleaning by itself? I won't have to worry about folding clothes, doing laundry. Like, that's how powerful your body is. The vagina is a self-cleaning powerhouse that it takes away the stress of thinking about having to do so much to keep it functioning. No. But when you think about what do we see in the stores, we tend to see shelves full of products telling us we need to smell like flowers or vanilla or lavender down there. And like, my friend, no, sis, that's a no-no. Our bodies aren't supposed to smell like lavender and rainbows or vanilla. Like, no, that is honestly marketing, period. No pun intended. Like, it's just a whole marketing gimmick. If you're healthy, you're good. Anything that smells super sweet or is loaded with like fragrance, that really can mess up your body's natural pH balance, which we don't want. Like, you don't need that stuff. A simple soap and water goes a very long way, my friend. Like, we have to unlearn the idea that feminine hygiene is just about masking our natural bodies. No, it's about health, self-care, and knowing our bodies well enough to give them what they actually need. All right, let's get into periods. Yes, I said it. Periods. Like, this is up my alley because, again, this is something that everyone tries to whisper about. Like, why? Why are we whispering about periods? I don't know why people still act like it's something we need to hide when half of the world experiences it. That we've got to stop being embarrassed about something that's so natural. I get it again, different cultural practices, but again, we have to stop being embarrassed about something that is natural. Like, first off, there are so many period products out there. You have the pads, tampons, there's menstrual cups, there's period panties, you name it. But here's the thing. What works for me might not work for you, my friend. And that's totally fine. It's really all about figuring out what makes you comfortable. But what we don't talk about enough is how often we should be changing these products that we're using, whether it's a tampon, a pad, or a cup. You've got to change them regularly, my friend. Like on average, they say every 4 to 6 hours at least, because you don't want to leave anything in for too long, because when you do that, that can lead to infections. And I mean, we don't have time for that. We're out here living our best life. We have things to do. We have goals to accomplish. We definitely don't want to have unnecessary infections coming about because we chose to leave or use our menstrual products for longer than we need to. So definitely you want to do every 4 to 6 hours. Sometimes I would say, you want to change every 2 to 3 hours. But again, what works for me is not going to work for you. And then sometimes, it becomes technical when if you're someone that you're going through multiple pads every hour, then that's another underlying health issue that we have to tackle. And I'll have someone talk about that on another episode coming up. But we definitely want to ensure that we're changing the tampons, pads, or cup, or even, every 4 to 6 hours. But of course, you do it as much as you need to as well. Like I said, I mentioned the different types of period products. And, speaking of menstrual cups, my friend, if you haven't tried them, they're a game changer. I will say I am a pad girly. I have tried the menstrual cup, but I'm just a pad girly through and through. I don't know. I've done away with the tampons. I have tried the cup, but my brain I don't know. My body, I prefer to just use the pad. And that could just be maybe based on my cycle as well, but I'm a pad girly. But speaking of menstrual cups, they are a game changer. And the one thing that I love about them, because I'm all about protecting the environment, especially when it comes to women's health as well. Menstrual cups, they are sustainable, they're cost effective, and once you get the hang of it, it is so convenient. You just got to make sure you're cleaning it properly. So you don't want to have a boiling hot water. So every cycle, you should be sterilizing your menstrual cup until it's time for the other cycle to start again. And again, we're talking about protecting not just ourselves, but the place that we live, the place that we call home, the Earth, where we are. And period products tend to add up over a period of time. So if you decide to switch, when you switch to something reusable, it really does make a huge difference for our environment. But again, there's no right way to handle your period. You do what works for you. But I would not be me if I didn't mention period poverty. Like, if you don't know, I am the founder of a nonprofit organization called Scrub Life Cares. And part of our mission is to promote reproductive health education, comprehensive sexual education, and of course, providing menstrual products to those in need. But period poverty is a real thing, and it's something that I'm really passionate about. And for those of you listening, if you don't know what period poverty is, it is a term used to describe a lack of access to proper menstrual products and the education needed to use them effectively. There are approximately 500 million women and girls around the world that cannot manage their periods safely due to the lack of menstrual products and also for the fear of shame. Because again, these are not things that we're talking about, but people are experiencing. We cannot talk about period poverty if we don't talk about poverty. And I'm trying not to go down a whole tangent because I can talk about this nonstop, but it's not lost on me that people are struggling to afford, people can't afford to buy menstrual products, so they're having to resort to socks or paper, newspaper which, is not necessarily safe, and it also makes me emotional, but yes, definitely that is a thing. So even though I mentioned these period products, there are many people around the world that are struggling to have safe periods because one, they don't have access to water, or they can't afford the period products that's available to them because of all the different taxes and just the cost of them altogether. So you definitely need to pay close attention to that as well. So I consider myself privileged because I have no issue with accessing menstrual products, but somebody that lives next to me or whatever the case may be, have to choose between menstrual items or food or utility as well. So if you are someone listening, if you're struggling to afford or access menstrual products, or if you know someone, feel free to reach out to my organization, Scrub Life Cares, and I'll put it in the show notes as well, because we'll be happy to help you. Again, we're trying to remove the shame. We're here to be our sisters' keepers, or our menstruators' keepers as well. So definitely reach out to me at Scrub Life Cares, and I'll put everything in the show notes. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty of vaginal health, because for me, I feel like this part never gets enough love. Like, I'm going to say it loud for the people in the back. Stop douching. Please. May I beg you, just stop. Stop douching, okay? I know some of us honestly grew up thinking that douching is what kept us clean, but honestly, it's actually doing the opposite, my friend. Like, douching messes up your natural pH balance. It messes up your natural vaginal flora. Like, the good bacteria that keeps everything balanced, it messes that up. Your body already knows how to clean itself. Remember, I said earlier that your vagina is the powerhouse self-cleaning. It's it's a self-cleaning powerhouse is what your vagina is. So your body already knows how to clean itself. So you don't need to go in there with all that extra stuff. Like it's not needed. A little soap and water goes a very long way when it comes to your vaginal health, when it comes to keeping it clean, okay? And another thing I want to talk about, and just let's be real, my friend. A lot of us are using products we don't need at all. Like all those scented washes, body wash, or vaginal wash, all the wipes. Like they're doing more harm than good, my friend. I hate to break it to you, but they're doing more harm than good. I know in the past we've been taught, what, yeah, if you gotta have these scented wipes and all these different body wash. I'm not gonna call it a particular brand, but they're doing more harm than good. Like a little water and a mild, maybe unscented soap is all you need on the outside when you're cleaning your vagina. That's it, my friend. That is it. You're good to go. Okay? And then remember, what I want us to remember, again, being in tune with your body. If something feels off down there, whether it's itching, some sort of discomfort, or an unusual discharge, please, 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 my friend, don't ignore it. That is your body's way of giving you a signal to tell you that something is off. And with that, it's totally fine to check in with your healthcare provider. Me, one thing I'm going to do first, if something is not feeling right, I'm going to get a mirror and I'm going to put it underneath so I can see what's going on for myself, so that when I'm talking to my healthcare provider, before they do any sort of examination, they know what they're working with. So again, it's very important to be in tune with your body and, apply the less is more mindset when it comes to taking care of your vagina. Like it's less is more. Listen to your body. Again, if there's any discomfort, itching, unusual discharge with a smell, whatever it is, please don't ignore it. Go run to your doctor right away to see what's going on with your body. Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about... I'm so funny. But I want to talk about the sex and feminine hygiene. Like, let's talk about this. We should all be comfortable talking about this. Feminine hygiene and sex, it's part of the conversation. But whenever it comes to comprehensive sexual education or just education across our board, it's often left out. For what reason, I don't know. Again, that's something that's it's just mind-blowing to me. But one of the easiest things you can do to your vaginal health is to pee after sex. Yes, I know some of you should know. If you don't know, you don't remember. Peeing after sex helps to prevent UTIs. It helps it helps to flush out any bacteria that might have made its way into your urethra. We don't want that. So I'm encouraging you to pee after sex. Another thing I want to mention, and I don't want you to stress. Like, don't stress about rushing or hurrying to wash off right after sex. Like, of course, a light little rinse is fine. That if that's what makes you comfortable. In your mind, I gotta pee, I gotta take a shower. Do what makes you comfortable. But your body doesn't need a full on scrub down right after. Again, your vagina is doing its job. It's there to protect you. It's gonna do what it needs to do. Okay? A myth that I want to talk about that we just need to put to rest, we need to just put 6 feet under, is that sex, my friend, doesn't stretch out your vagina. I'm putting air quotes here. It doesn't stretch out your vagina or change your vagina permanently. Like, I'm tired of hearing, if you have sex too many times or whatever, it's going to stretch your vagina out. If you had a baby, I'm just tired. So I want us to put this myth to rest. Let's just kill it, okay? Just like how we are resilient individuals here in the tea tasting room, like no matter what life throws at us, we're going to be resilient. It's the same thing with your body. Your body is resilient. It is built to handle all these things. So let's just stop with that narrative of, sex is going to change your vagina permanently. Let's just put it to rest. That's just not what we're about. And, again, it's very important for me and the work that we do at my nonprofit Scrub Life Care is to have this open conversation because, again, there's so much misinformation out there, and living in a social media world, we just believe everything that we say and some things aren't even evidence-based. So let's just put that myth to rest. Please, I'm begging you for the sake of myself and you, let's just put it to rest. Let's switch gears for a little bit and talk about something that we might not think of often. Even I myself, sometimes in previous times, didn't always think about that. But once I learned this, you best believe you can't stop me now. But I want to talk about clothing and hygiene. If I were thinking, girl, what? Yes, your clothing and your hygiene. Because did you know that what you wear can affect your vaginal health? Like, it's very important to wearing breathable fabrics like cotton underwear that helps to keep things fresh and dry in that area down there, okay? And I know Many of you, you're super feminine, and I know those little cut lace, like little cute lace undies. They're tempting because you want to, do something. You want to feel good about yourself, Or maybe you can just save them for like a special occasion because, again, non-breathable fabrics can trap moisture, which leads to yeast infections, and we don't want that. We do not want that at all. So be mindful of the clothing that you're wearing as whoever you are, woman, whatever. You want to ensure that you are wearing clothing that's breathable to prevent any sort of yeast infection or bacteria from appearing. Another thing, after if you're someone like you're gym girly, whatever it is, after you work out, or even if you sweat a lot, please don't hang out in those clothes for too long. Like, if you're like me, I like to talk. So after my workout, I'm going to talk to my friend. I'm going to be there talking, end up for like an hour or two. But, don't stay in those clothing for too long because bacteria and sweat can build up. So showering and changing into fresh clothes is key. Because one thing I'm going to take a nice hot shower, honey, after working out, after the work day, whatever it is. I've had someone tell me one time when I was doing a seminar that, I bathe one time a day because, you know what? I'm in the office all day with AC. I'm not sweating. So what's the point of me taking a shower after work? I'm like, you know what? No, sweat. Even though you may not be doing something physical that's going to allow you to sweat, like from your head or your armpits or whatever. Sweat and bacteria, they can build up down there. So I'm encouraging you, my friend, as part of our feminine hygiene, is to ensure that you are showering and changing into fresh clothes regularly. That is going to be key for your overall feminine health as well. Okay? Now, I learned this a while back, and this might come as a surprise to you, my friend. It may not, I don't know. But what you eat plays a major role in your vaginal health. Okay? Staying hydrated, for example, is a huge way for you to keep everything balanced in down there. So I'm going to say down there. When you eat foods that are probiotic rich, like your yogurt or your fermented foods, those support the healthy bacteria in your body. So it's important to be mindful of what you eat because, again, it's all connected. It's all connected, On the flip side, too much sugar can lead to yeast infection. We don't want that. We want to stay void of any sort of yeast infection because when you have too much sugar, that feeds the bad bacteria. So definitely want to be mindful of how much sugar we're intaking. And if you're someone that's prone to yeast infection, you definitely want to be more mindful of what you're eating and how much sugar your body is intaking as well, because it's all connected. Everything that we do, like I said, the female body is complex but so beautiful. Everything is connected, so you have to be more mindful when it comes to your diet and your vaginal health. Be mindful of what you're eating day in, day out. It's very important. All right, my friends. So I'm coming to the end of this episode because I don't want to keep you here too long. But I think we've covered the basics today. We've covered what we needed to cover as it relates to the basic feminine hygiene practices or what to look out for. But before I wrap up, I just want to say this, and I want you to remember this. The shame and stigma surrounding your bodies, it needs to stop. Like my friend, it needs to just done. End that. Finish it, period. The shame and stigma surrounding our bodies needs to stop. It's on us. We have to break the stigma around feminine hygiene. Like, we already live in a world where we're having to fight so hard for even rights, for reproductive rights. Like, it's so toxic living in this environment, this world that we're living in. People want to control what we do with our bodies. So it's on us to remove that shame and stigma as it relates to our bodies, because it's nothing to be embarrassed about. Like, we have to break the stigma around feminine hygiene. Our bodies are not something to be embarrassed about. We should be talking about these things openly with each other, with your partner, with your doctor, with your friends, whoever. If you want to come in the tea tasting and want to talk to me about it, I'm down for that. It's what I do in my everyday job. But we have to keep these conversations going, because if you're not having them, then people are not going to learn. People are not going to understand why it's so important for us to have the rights that we are fighting for. There's so much shame wrapped around menstruation, vaginal health, and even sex, especially in certain cultures. And I understand, every culture is different. But the more we have these conversations, my friend, the more we normalize them. Like, I truly believe that knowledge is power. We grew up hearing that knowledge is power. But we equate that to just educational academics. But no, it comes down to our body. It's time to stop letting the world tell us something natural should be hidden. Like, no, it's time. We need to start listening to that. Feminine hygiene isn't a taboo. It isn't a taboo topic. It's literally our health. It's self-care, and we all deserve to feel comfortable and confident in our bodies, okay? So if you don't remember anything that I say, remember this. Feminine hygiene isn't a taboo. It's health, it's self-care, and we all deserve to feel comfortable and confident within our bodies. For me, as the founder of Scrub Life Cares, part of our mission is to provide and promote comprehensive reproductive and sexual health education. And it really brings me joy to have these conversations here with you in the tea tasting room because they're so necessary, they're so needed. It's really important for us to continue to have these open conversations. If you are someone or you know someone who struggles with having access or, being able to afford menstrual products, feel free to reach out to me and my organization will help. If you're looking for someone to give a talk or a speech about feminine hygiene, menstrual health, whatever it is as it relates to comprehensive reproductive and sexual health education, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm your girl. You can reach out to me via DMs or email, and I'll put all the details in which you can contact me for any sort of speaking engagements or if you need products. I'll put it on in the show notes so we can ensure that people are having safe periods and also they're getting that education that they need. So I'll put all my details in the show notes where you can find us, Scrub Life Cares. If you want to reach out, if you want to support or donate to keep our menstrual pantry going, I will leave that information in the show notes for sure. Whew, okay, I feel like we talked about a lot today as it relates to feminine hygiene, especially with the basics. So I hope you're walking away from this episode feeling empowered to take control of your health in a new way. Maybe you were doing these things and you forgot because, again, life be life and things happen. But I hope you're able to walk away feeling empowered and ready to take care of your health and control to become that CEO of your health in a new way. Remember this. Feminine hygiene isn't just about staying clean, it's about honoring your body. I'm going to say it again. Feminine hygiene isn't just about staying clean, it's about honoring your body and making sure you are treating it with the self-care and respect that it deserves. Okay? So we cannot talk about self-care if we're not taking care of our body. All right? As always, my friend, thank you for spending this time with me in the tea tasting room. If you have questions or comments, anything you want to share, feel free to hit me up via email or Instagram. Let me know what's going on. Because again, let's keep this conversation going. Because the more we talk, the more we learn. And the more we learn, the healthier we all are. Until next time, my friend, stay hydrated, empowered, curious, and remember, your body is beautiful just the way it is. I'll see you next time here in the tea tasting room. I love you for listening. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Tea with Tanya. If you like this episode, be sure to share it with a friend. Don't forget to follow on Instagram at Tea with Tanya Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the weekly Tea Talk newsletter. And of course, rate on Apple or Spotify and subscribe wherever you listen. See you next time. I love you for listening.